by-election, we came up with recommendations, but here we are. We didn't implement any of those
recommendations. The white paper whitewashed the commission's report. So you see, I think that if there is a new government, that government should reinstitute, and when the report, look at how diligent the respected persons who sat on that report. For the president to say, you know, who said when you are provoked, you slap? I mean, who determines what is provocation? Who came? Put in measures. We went to Kumewu. As enough, no incident. Then they had their then their own internal, you know, heated elections. No incidents to retreat. And when you look at, let me just read something to you for your viewers. Let me just read something to you from the garrisons, MPP. So MPP, let me just add, results. Let me just add that between today, this night, and tomorrow morning and thereafter, whether you like it or not, when the wind of change is blowing, we saw it under rolling, nothing stopped Ghanaians. You see the way this, as far as I'm concerned, we are at liberty to move out in trouble. They should stay there. The military commanders and the military officers, that you see, enough is enough. I know you have sidelined your CDS. Enough is enough. At the moment, you can see in the garrisons, their wives, they themselves, their families said this is how they want to go. And that speaks volumes. Right. If it happens that at the end of everything, when EC, who officially would have to do an announcement, announces that this party is lost and this party is won, you go home. We wish you better luck next time. You go do your work. If there was some Edidija, just make sure you bring everybody together and say, next time, help us when we win. This time around, things will be done well. I think that is how we should go as a nation. We shouldn't take it too personal. Ghana is not one person's property.
Well, I think we are going to continue to take it personal because this was a situation where the state and its apparatuses had failed us woefully. All the security ministers told us they didn't know where these guys came from. 3 parliamentary committees that ought to have known because they approved the funds. The Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Interior, totally clueless in everything around security. The Public Accounts Committee, know who these guys are because they approved the monies. I appeared before the Emil Short Commission and spoke about the dangers of unregulated armed men outside the statutory. It is the same dismissal that came with the Vigilante Act, Act 999. You know, we live in a country, and I think, Bernice, you used the word political elites. We live in a country where, I like my brother's word, hoodlums have clothed themselves narrative. So we sign on to things, but we decided we won't implement them. So Emil Short report is rubbish. The Vigilante Act is rubbish. And I'm hoping that whoever takes power must clamp down on vigilantism. Otherwise, from 15th of January.
Democracy.
Who says we are a beacon of democracy?
Well, that's what we tout ourselves as.
Because we are not.
No, we're not.
Far from it. We're close.
I think it's like
okay.
So you watch a movie and you begin to weep, and the people are acting. And so we are acting from Hamile, Teshin, Hamile, where Hamile is. Yeah. And you know you are from Boku, right? Yeah. So you know where Boku is. So let's use Boku. Where Boku is, the far and then Teshin. We've sold all this. Generations unborn to also come and benefit from what the Kwame Nkrumah who built Ghana, who got us independence. I'm told he never even built a house for himself.
He never owned the clothing that he wore.
So sometimes I ask myself, what kind of democracy do we pride ourselves to be within? Where our generation, am I going to serious issues? And I say that.
Is that not a deepening threat to us?
No, we would have to fix the country. You see, the truth is, I don't think we hate one another. all of us are properties. Those properties must be collected, whatever it takes. Because I think you sure when you are eating coffee brokeman, whether you are eating cyanide. And you have a regional chairman of a party come on TV, to be displaying gold. And you see, in a serious country, he would have been arrested immediately. It is a precious metal. It is a precious metal, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, it's make look believe, where, everything is painted very beautifully, but when you go behind, it's smelly, it's rotten. That's the way it looks. And that is what happened. That's the way it looks. And that is what our military has been turned into today. So today you cannot really see people resisting the military and hooting at them.
Because hitherto, there's some fear in you.
Yes.
But today, if somebody can boldly attack a military...
Single-handed, one person bring down 2 military officers, and he nearly disarmed 2 military officers.
Because
in the full glare of the public.
They are not officers. These are...
Exactly. Hoodlums, call them that way. These are criminals.
And get that rank, and are issued rank, and are issued with a weapon for... Sign that is to go into the forest.
Come on. Who does that?
Okay. Our only lack is that the parliamentarians. And the 9th Parliament, probably with those who are losing now that we are hearing, probably only about 30% almost. I think that gives all of us the reset that Adam is talking about. Because right now, as a nation, we are facing multiple existential threats. From the small arms, from the environmental, and stays in the air for 3 years.
Wow.
So we are all...
And there's a reason why in my wife's hometown in the eastern region, don't trap rainwater because it's contaminated.
Months ago, our country had the poorest air.
And ECOWAS have placed our air and water quality at a dangerous level. Not only that, in 5 years, agency status, there will be no cocoa for us to sell. We cannot sell pineapple. We cannot sell our peppers. The EU has basically banned everything from Ghana. $54 billion a year. Almost 6.5 tons of it is called Burkinabes.
House that remain in it because Alon might not be able to.
Young persons were chanting at some military officers at Anya Sotum.
If I came from military officers.
Exactly. Reports coming. So you can hear the people singing.
The will of the people cannot be subverted, that we're saying.
The people singing.
The will of the people cannot be subverted.
We pay taxes. Ghana will not remain the same.
But what that will mean is that we
Takes all.
Not remain the same.
But what that will mean is that we
Takes all. At this moment, but we mentioned an incident. Has this man been identified? Does he belong to any faction?
About years and he came from the greater hall, trying to bring it in the box. Two bottles from the mental box. Two bottles from the mental tobacco selling which had been destroyed. And but this man comes in with his own things to test his documents and his ballot box containing valid votes. So the police is trying to censor. But in the meantime, policing is still going on over here at the Ayawase West Wing.
0.
Hello, Lily.
Yes, I was asking if you have some numbers for us. You said that coalition is still ongoing. Do you have some numbers for us?
Yes, really. I was saying West Region. Yes, I have for the Equapo Hall the Equapo Hall presidential presidential vote. NPP scored 92, MPP scored 92, that's 90, NDC 132. 132. And Nana Kwame Dudiako of the New Force scored 4 as Alan Trump. Still in the area also West Region constituency. The presidential vote, NPP had 66, that was 66. NPP 66. NDC had 192, that is 190. The Diako of the New Force had 3, with Alan having 2, and 263 valid votes were cast with 1 rejected ballot. Now, for the special voting that went on in the constituency, the special voting at Center A for Ayawaso West Region saw N4 Zoom, Ghana Union Movement having 1, and Nana Kwame Dudu also having 7, with Alan Chairman having 2.
Echo, if I was able to get you right, the numbers suggest that provisionally the NDC is leading in the Ayawaso West Wogan constituency. Is that correct? From the numbers you've provided?
If I heard you right, you're asking if the NDC is leading so far. So far, in the list that I have, it seems NDC is in the lead. But this is just out of 234 polling stations. So we're still doing the selection, and we hope to bring you a more.
That's Eko Boache there, our man on the ground. Eko, thank you very much. He said what he has West Wogan constituency, quite.
But he did add that those numbers compared to the total that have to be, put together may not be significant. So we would have to wait to have the full results. But we've just received a notice from the National Peace Council urging supporters of the various parties not to mass up at polling collation centers. And so with what that's why I'm coming to you, because you had earlier said that you support the call because you think
to
it
mass
adds
up at the collation
Can I say that? You see, I called members of the National Peace Council this afternoon on this platform. I called them. I called behaving. I called them and they told me that they were going to do a press conference. Because then I was expecting them. You don't ask people to sign a needless peace pact. And when the need comes for you to speak up and say that after the signing of it, within the military decide to go ahead and deploy, to mention names.
Right.
But they know themselves. I'm sure they are listening to me. I called them. I called some of the most important persons at the Peace Council. They are my friends. Anytime, we go, they want contribution, we all contribute something to support the Peace Council. I have contributed to support them. And so mine is that when we needed them the most, they failed to call the bluff of the military. The military were out there. When this thing was happening in Obuasi, I called them and told them, you see, you are the only people who can set out.
When you see an authority, institution that stands forward at the risk, and I think it is that engine of beds, that inability to speak truth to power. Is that power?
Of clarity on exactly what's happening, because it's not too clear at the moment. But what we understand is that some EC officials have been stranded because they cannot access the collation center. Lily.
Quite sad there, we seem to have a lot of these incidents coming in where people are blocking the various collation centers. Somebody's trying to smuggle a ballot. That's quite sad.
The people should just...
Is that not going to cause a lot of chaos in these various collation centers?
You see, we can always have a theory like organized chaos, where...
We're seeing another one. We heard of Okankwe South. Now this is Accra Academy, the Collation Center. People being locked out, electoral materials still in the hands of EC officials. Why do we have to see these things happen?
No, you see, because it is better this way than go home and the next day you hear your neighbor's neighbor, they've all died. So if you stay, I mean, I'm saying if you don't organize, what do you call it, chaos, where they are there, you are not too sure who is leading them, but they look very organized. Like they look very organized, even though they don't seem to have leaders.
Yeah.
They know what they are doing, and they know what the transparency.
Yeah.
For the first time, we think you are gone. So for me, I just think that it is okay. They should be there.
What is this craze, for want of a better expression, for politicians to want to stay in?
That there is something there that politicians, when they get in there, I don't know, but
So you see, the issue is turning chaotic. But let's get the details.
Academy and Collation Center at the Okaipe South constituency. And then the reason why all this are happening, we came 270 to be choked, obviously. So and then the policemen actually blocked the gate of the various halls at the Collation Center here at the Accra Academy. So I mean, tempers are, highly arising, and then still, I don't know. I believe you can see two ambulances just behind me, and you can see how bad the situation is, because people were actually pepper sprayed here.
So there you have it. Quite an unfortunate
Right in front of the gate, and it is very bad. It is very bad. As of now, the ambulance actually are trying to take care of them because they were pepper sprayed, and then also there have been so many attacks by the police, and then the individuals now, as I'm speaking to you, is happening because it is very, very bad. It is very, very bad. The situation is very, very bad, and it's getting worse. So I believe the security should be more here, because even the policemen who are supposed to, as and when.
While you're there.
Right. Right.
Can you hear me? Bernice here, Christian. So just a quick one. Can you just clarify why these EC officials are not being allowed into the hall? What was the agreed process? We heard from the EC that when it comes to the collation centers.
So, as I mentioned earlier, it is as a result of the place or the hall being choked, violation of the passage that was sent out there, that the EC or the electoral officials.
EC and its officials. The question. The EC and its officials. The question. The EC knows
they drop the ball very badly.
Right.
The longer people
so far.
Military to go back.
And also the one that happened earlier today.
Military to go back.
And also the one that happened earlier today, resulting in the death.
Done by the military.
The military attended to a facility, a hotel, where they shouldn't be. Yesterday or 2 days ago? Yesterday. And that was like a dress rehearsal. And some of us thought, well, let's give the Peace Council the benefit of the doubt. Then this morning, we got up and we had hints of military deployment, 2BN, 4BN, trying to say. So I was expecting that they should have spoken. Ask the military, go back. But they didn't. It's almost like they are afraid.
The Peace Council is always afraid.
They are just afraid
to speak up or stand up to be counted when it's necessary.
Well, we have to make you Peace Council.
They are always afraid. They dare not speak up. Me, I've become a dead goat now that I've come on retirement.
But
interesting use of that expression.
I know.
People have sought to, get me sacked and driven out of this country for the past 8 years.
Consequences.
Yeah. Truly doesn't cost that much.
I tell people that you see after 20 girlfriends. Do you understand me? So I don't need. I am Ankonam. So I don't need too much work. It doesn't last. An MPP government had both, even though they had a couple of them, eventually they got sabotaged.
Yeah.
You know, the 88 or the 90 MPs who stood up.
Yeah, and the prime.
You understand me? Own kind. You get it? You will suffer some of these consequences. Because then, so I think that going forward, we should allow dissent. I think it's beautiful. But those people who disagreed, one of my friends, Apia Kubi, I mean, such persons
But
were,
you know what?
you know,
I think they also waited too long.
they did, but it's because they might probably have been afraid of the victimization. But you can imagine even when they waited too long, what happened to them? Most of them lost their primaries, which I think it shouldn't be.
But see, they made those who appropriated the power who they became.
Sure.
You see, you know, I've told my driver, except in cases where there is a formal police dispatch rider in front of a vehicle, we don't get on the road when you fix those bogus lights and you are disturbing. And every time we stand or we stop in the middle of the road, they just move off. We should start becoming participatory citizens and demanding that those who have come for our votes begin to serve us.
So that Cecilia Dapa and co, we find money under Cecilia Dapa's bed, under her bed, and the president writes a beautiful letter. And you know, you have state institutions like the Iyoko board, they are building bus for themselves because the president himself has built one for himself in the Western region. We cannot live in a society.
Is that not a security apparatus? And why are we building bus to glorify?
So that's what I'm trying to say is that we have gotten to a state where things have sunk so low. So everybody thinks that, oh, I can do things because, oh, who is, I mean, nobody. Nobody will do me anything. Because then if I know that Prof is my boss, and Prof, this is how he likes his things. If I do it, if this water is here and he wants me to be cleaning it, I better be cleaning it because that is why he hired me. If I know that when I don't clean and he comes, he won't talk, I won't clean.
So you're placing the blame squarely at the feet of President Akufo-Addo?
100%. 100%.
Well, he says the buck stops with him.
No, 100%. 100%. You can't take even 100%. 100. Because then he literally slept on the job.
And the buck stops with
everyone. It stops with him because we have an executive president who, in fact, during COVID, made all of us stay in our rooms. Have you forgotten? Yeah. We just signed something. And eventually, he went to court or something. The court said he was illegal. But by an executive order, he asked all of us to stay inside. That is how powerful the president is. And so I want to have a president who would not use his power arbitrarily, but would ensure that, you know, our rights are not abused, people do what is right, and things are done right. And so as far as I'm concerned, I think everything stops with the president. And things should have been right. Today, you see me going hard on the military. I'm going hard on the military because he, you know, has done a lot of work in that area. He just recently, he said he's retired but not tired. But the truth is that it's a highly regimented community.
Yeah, it is.
I can tell you that for 1 year, military officers have not received pay slip. Pay slip. How can they be paying you at EIB and you don't receive it? Do you know how much they pay you? They are not receiving pay slip. Most of them didn't vote in these elections. And you saw that, translate that in the results that came out, because if I don't vote, soldiers too, they give birth power, and some of them have 2-3 girlfriends. So when we went around, military officers and police officers and the rest said the way Dampare was treated at that when he was invited to Parliament was so disrespectful. You don't do that to,
the head of.
you don't do that. It's sacrilegious. That's what they said. You don't do that.
Also, that in a statutory hierarchical institution,
yes, you don't do that.
One should not even be able to think about it.
Sure. Okay. We'll come back to you. We have to go to the EC strong room.
Please
My
go.
colleague Araba is there for us. Araba, it's great to hear from you. We've been waiting to hear the results. Have they started coming in, the official results for constituencies? What can you report?
All right, Nadede, the line is very faint, but if I heard you right, of course I am at the National Coalition Center of the Electoral Commission, of course the headquarters of the Electoral Commission, which is formally called the Strong Room of the Electoral Commission. Now, right behind me are the 16 fax machines from the various regional, various regions that 16 regions that we have in the country, and you can see on it the names from the various regions have been boldly written on it. If you can see that of the Buni East region, the Western region, Western North region, the Ashanti, and all the other regions in the country. Now, what actually happens here at the Strong Room, as I mentioned earlier, we have representatives of the various political parties, and we have some of the presidential aspirants also right to my right side here. If the cameraman can turn the camera there, you will see all of them here trying to observe what the results are going to be. And then right opposite me or in front of me is the projector where the figures from the various regions will be projected after it has been satisfied by the returning officer. We also have the observer community also here to observe, but person of Mr. Fred Tete to give us full details of what is expected at the National Coalition Center of the Electoral Commission.
Final results from the regions at the national level. So as you can see, the structure is usually located within the headquarters of the electoral machines. Up to now, coalition centers has been doing is to collate or put together the results from all the constituencies in the region. Generate one single regional result sheet. It is this single result, and over here, as you can see, we have fax machines that are dedicated to a particular region and well labeled region by region. So we are sitting here, media, the representatives of the candidates are here a period of 15 to 20 minutes for them to confirm. And at this National Coalition Center, what we do is that because the results have to be authenticated and verified by the agents as well, or reps of the candidates, we allow them to come with any gadget, whether laptops, whether iPad or tablets, their phones. If they want to come and set up a desktop to receive the results, whatever means that they will use in confirming the results, we do that. We allow them to bring them in. So when we receive the results from a particular region, we show it to them, we announce, and then we run photocopies so that they can, within the 15 to 20 minutes, they will be able to confirm with their regional reps whether indeed these are the results that came. When they confirm the results, we then go back and then ask them to endorse one of the facts. They all endorse that one particular fact, and this is what we take to Madam Jean Mensah for her to certify. So like I said, when the parties will receive the results and the parties endorse, what we do is that we project it on the screen, as you can see.
Okay, talking about the results, I want to find out that do you envisage any results from any of the regions being delayed?
Oh, not at all, not at all, not at all. I think we are all being positive. As we sit here, we are all tired, and we want to receive the results from the regions as quickly as possible so that we put them together, and then the chairperson or the returning officer for the presidential elections declares the results.
Okay, you said as soon as possible. How soon are we expecting to see any of the regional results coming in?
They can come in anytime. They can come in anytime. I can put my finger on it and say that in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. But as soon as they finish at the regional level, usually they will fax because we are all tired.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fred Tete, for sharing with us what we are to expect from the National Coalition Center. So a few minutes ago, the returning officer, that is in the person of the Madam Jane Mensah, was here, but she has walked out. And as he rightly said, we are to expect any of the results coming in any moment from now. And of course, we are ready. We have pitched camp here to bring you all that you need to know. I am Araba Edu from the National Coalition Center here at the EC headquarters in Accra.
We should expect the results to start trickling in, obviously, because we didn't see such a high voter turnout. And Prof, as we wrap up with you, because you have to leave, what are your impressions of the voter turnout? What do they mean in terms of who is likely to win or likely to lose? We know what the trends say, but from your perspective, and also in answering that, can you also tell us what you make of the results and how fast or slow you think they're coming in, and what that could also mean for the tension that's simmering?
Well, in terms of the turnout, I think it means so many things. First, that the EC had increased the number of polling stations. But more importantly, that it's a reflection of people's disillusionment with the Fourth Republic, and particularly with this government. That politics is not worth fighting for. And I think what that means is that we will need, whoever wins, we need a reset. We need a new type of politics with citizens' participation. And I think it's beginning to create some problems because 4 years ago, I think we hovered around 74%, 75% thereabouts. And already by now, there were clear indications of what was happening. Right now, I think we are hovering, I don't know, probably about the 60s.
Yes.
You know, so actually, when I was leaving Joy FM around 9:30, I thought we would have had most of the results.
And that's why I asked that second question. How do you feel about that?
Well, if you see all the tensions around the coalition centers at the constituency level, then it gives you a certain worrying feeling that it may not be wholly above board. And that we need to be, I think we've overflogged the word vigilant. Maybe I ought to have taken some ISS numbers on that word. But I think I support Adam's position that we need to be there to ensure that no games are played.
No.
4 years ago, no, 8 years ago, I sat in this studio. And one of my colleagues who was involved in some games would tell me, oh, you know, when we fax the pink sheets, you know, the system doesn't work. So can you, when you come to GH1, tell people that there's a problem with the computers and blah, blah, blah.
Really?
Yeah. You know, so there's a history to the suspicions when things delay. It ought not to delay this year and today because we've all signed at the polling station level. Parties have collated them at the constituency level, so people know what is happening. So 30 of my former colleagues went out today, and they have put here some of the signed pictures. So wherever we went to do the observation, we have our pictures.
Right.
So really, the more it delays, the higher the propensity for violence and disturbances.
But I think the NDC is projecting. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because one of their big wigs is saying JM has 6 points, about six and above million.
Of course, we want to, because of what happened with the 2020 elections, and not even the 2016. We just want to be careful because sometimes the political parties want to put out what they say they have collated, and then it throws a lot of confusion in the system. So we just want to stay clear of that. We'll wait for the EC's results, but we also have our men on the ground who are observing keenly, and we definitely will bring you accurate facts. No two ways about that. So in wrapping up with you two, Dr. Bona, Lee, did you have any question? If you don't, we'll just wrap it up with him.
You talked about massing up. Obviously, that will bring more chaos. He says that the longer it delays. Should there be any contingency measure in the interim?
No, I think that I'm told they put in place enough measures to deal with the issue. There's a reason why, issues like tear gas. So I think that they are going in phases.
Let me hold you there. Let's head back to Utusinga East. We're learning that there's a charged atmosphere. Some of the candidates have stormed the district coalition centers there. Nurain Abbas is our man on the ground in Utusinga East. Nurain, if I have you there, what's the mood there? Results? What does it look like?
The police must stop them. Yeah. Is that the location?
Yes, that's the Utusinga.
The police must stop.
Jubilant supporters of the NDC parliamentary candidates, Phyllis Nakoyo.
Okay. So what is going on there?
Well, they are the NDC is jubilating.
Okay. But they are not entering the facility.
Yes, but
they shouldn't enter the facility.
Let's listen to our man on the ground. No, and if you can hear me, kindly update me.
The NDC parliamentary candidate, Phyllis Nakoyo Okuno, came to the premises of the coalition center and earlier, just before she arrived, the incumbent MP, Mavis Harakumsi, came here. And when she came here, the atmosphere was very tense. Everywhere was quiet. Just as she was leaving the premises, some of the NDC supporters wanted to push her away. Now, the NPP supporters won't allow this, and this sort of caused a little bit of friction between the NDC supporters and the NPP supporters. Eventually, she left the premises and then came in the NDC parliamentary candidate, Phyllis Nakoyo, who is currently in the premises in the building of the regional police quarters here in the Utusinga East constituency.
Okay, so that's Nurain Abbas with that report. Meanwhile, the NDC in the central region is calling for the arrest of Mavis Harakumsi. Let's hear them.
Good evening to the press. You are welcome to the Coalition Center for Central Region in Cape Coast. We are hearing a disturbing incident at Kaswa, that's Utusinga East. The information taken is that our candidate, Nakoyo, has won convincingly, but Howard Kumsin is doing everything possible to twist the results in her favor, and so she's using a style of what mafiaism by unnecessary shooting of people in and around Nakoyo's private residence. Currently, one person has died, another one is in serious condition. We want to appeal to the IGP to act on this issue immediately before we also strike. We are not happy about the current development. It's just a peaceful elections. If you have won elections, fine. If you have lost, you just accept it in good faith. You are an incumbent MP. You are not the only one who has lost this parliamentary elections. A lot of big people have lost. Trade Minister, tourism, energy, lands and forestry. A lot of people have lost these elections. You're not the only one losing these elections. So why all these shootings? But how Kumsi should know that NDC, per our records, have won these elections. And we are coming to power on January 7th. And we are going to deal with him, deal with her the way we have to do it. Yeah. But we are not happy about the way she's handling issues. This is not the first and last year, she did the same thing by killing people. And if his talk in trade is to kill innocent people because of elections, we will not forgive him this time around. Already our national chairman has issued that caution to her when he visited him at on a campaign trail at Kaswa. And we are also reiterating that if he continues doing that, we're also going to deal with him. It is not fair. It is never fair. It's just a common elections. You are not the only person losing this election. Even Baumia, who is the presidential candidate and has lost the elections, it's not even making noise. You are just lost Kaswa seat. You are making all this noise. Not noise alone, by killing innocent souls. We are not going to forgive her. On the other side, we want to congratulate our central regional voters for the confidence they have exposed in the central region NDC. We are inching closer to victory. And per our records, if it goes by it, or we go by what we have, then we have to thank the electorate. Currently, comparing our results last 4 years in terms of presidential, in percentage-wise, and consider the number of provinces that has come, we are leading by a significant percentage. And unconfirmed parliamentary seats that has come to our coalition center indicate that we are now having 17 and 3 more to go. So we believe that surely, if God permits, we can get 19 or 20 of the seats out of the 23 for the good people of Central Region. Thank you very much.
Right, so you heard from the NDC executives in the Central Region addressing that shooting incident in the Wutu Senior East. They also took the opportunity to thank the electorate. According to them, they are leading with some votes compared to what they were able to poll in the last election. We've got our men on the ground, and if you've been following us, we brought you that story from Okaikwe Central, where some EC officials could not access the collation room because it was too small. There was a bit of chaos. We understand from our man, Calvin Power, that the IGP himself and some of his men are there to control the situation. He will join us much later. But we're just wrapping up with our guests here in the studio, Dr. Bona and Professor Kwesi Enim. We've had them sharing their thoughts on the security situation generally. Professor Enim concluded his submission by talking about the delays and the seeming tension that is being created. We'll just give Dr. Bona an opportunity to also wrap up his thoughts with us. Doc, it's midnight. By now we should be seeing constituency results coming in. We are not seeing that. What are your thoughts and what are your expectations of the EC as we enter the morning of day 2 of the elections?
I think what I can say is IGP should continue to maintain that discipline he's taken into these elections. And just like you mentioned, he's gone into, because he's the one all of us are looking up to at the moment. I'm not sure whether one of the presidential candidates would concede before, to save us the hassle. You know, in the United Kingdom and other places, you have to concede.
The US, for example.
Yes, you have to concede because... no, you have to, because then the economy is more important than one person. Because the more it drags, you know how much time we are all spending. And so I think up to a point, maybe if by 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., it's clear that per your coalition you have lost the election, just throw in the towel. it makes you more of a gentleman than maybe holding on. And so, and I would urge the IGP to continue to, push, because then if he hadn't put this coalition thing into confined areas, you can imagine what would have happened. You can imagine, even when they are in confinement, people are scheming too. So I think that I wouldn't want to be in his shoes this night, because then it's difficult. But I believe that they should be able to, he and his team should be able to deliver this for us, whilst I pray that by 2 a.m. or so there'll be someone would have considered that, you know what, I think I fought a battle, and sometimes it's not all the time you win. Even Anado fought this battle for longer periods before eventually winning it and bringing us to where we are at the moment. So if you've lost, you've lost. There's nothing you can do.
Thank you very much, Doc and Prof. We appreciate your presence here. This is your Election Hub on GH1 TV and Star FM. We've been bringing you comprehensive coverage of the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Let me now take you straight to the GJA office. The Ghana Journalists Association is addressing the press.
At the Cape Coast North constituency. Again, at one constituency. GJA volunteer, and we are told, including other journalists, have also been. And we have said, and I'll repeat this, that the freedom of the media, the constitutional mandate of the media to cover this election, is non-negotiable and cannot be suppressed by anybody, not even the president of the land, let alone electoral officers on the ground. It is our constitutional mandate. And so we call on the Electoral Commission, if they are listening or watching us, they are hearing us, to take action immediately. These actions, this attitude, this posture may mar the good work of the EC if they don't act fast. We'll continue to monitor, and we'll bring real-time briefings or updates. We'll continue to be engaging you, our members. We are not sleeping. We are observing. We are following the collection as we have indicated. The Ghana International Press Center is where we have the National Media Coalition Center. And for that matter, we're waiting on our 276 volunteers to bring to us the clear results from the various constituencies. The media is free to join us. We will project the results on the giant screen you see outside, and you can also access the report in the collation room upstairs. We wish you all the best as you go about your duty, and as we indicated, always have in mind that we can only tell the story when you are alive. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Okay, so that's Albert Kwabna Jumfo, the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, live from the Ghana Journalists Association office at the press center. I know that for us as pressmen, this is the time that we're busy the most. We need to also keep ourselves safe.
Definitely.
There are a lot of tensions in the atmosphere. There are a lot of things that are happening.
Right, Lily, you're absolutely right, and that's why we have been assured by the Ghana Police Service that journalists will be protected. Every journalist out there, do well to identify yourself, hold out your ID card, stay safe. But for you at home watching us, we are grateful that you've stayed with us. We are your election hub. We've brought you comprehensive coverage of the election since it started. Even before it started, we visited constituencies, hotspots. We've brought you up-to-the-minute information. As you can see in your shots, Odududu Collation Center is up and running. The party's representatives are also there. Members of the press are there. It's a real deal from this point until the results are declared. So keep your fingers crossed, keep your dials locked right here on your election hub.
Quite interesting day it has been, and I wish we would get more results coming in.
Definitely.
But it feels as though there are a lot of people massing up at the various collation centers, and so people do not understand why the results should be called. But for us as journalists, we would have wished that by now we'll have a number of, because in 2020, by now, a number of the results would have started trickling in, and so people know, for want of a better expression, their smoothness levels.
Yes. Interesting. Right there. So we have been bringing you some of the results coming in from polling stations. We are looking forward to all of that being collated at the constituency level, and we'll serve it to you right here on your election hub. Let me also mention that we are very interactive. Get onto our Facebook page, on YouTube as well. Drop your comments. Let us know what you think about the processes so far. You've been hearing from our analysts as well. They've been sharing their thoughts about the election process so far. Some of them applauding the Inspector General of Police for his proactiveness in ensuring general peace across the country. Unfortunately, some persons are reported to have lost their lives as a result of this election. We've heard the Peace Council condemning the shootings. The NDC in the Central Region has been doing the same. We also know that the two main parties, the NDC and the NPP, have been addressing the press after polls closed at 5. We heard from the NPP. We've also heard from the NDC. The NDC asking its supporters to exercise restraint, not to jubilate yet to be vigilant. And we've also heard the NPP say same. So we will be monitoring the situation. We will be telling you what to expect in the coming hours. Stay with us. We will be right back after this.
Are going to decide and vote in the right direction. The country's economy is so bad, price of goods and services are too high, and that nothing is being expected. The majority of Ghanaians are expecting Mahama to be sworn in on the 7th of January 2024, and that's exactly what they want. If the mandate of the people is stolen, this country will be something else, because we are in a democracy. When your time is due and you have to go out, go away, let another president come in. Other than that, you don't know what is going to happen. But for today, now that voting hasn't started, we don't know what is going to happen. But to the best of my knowledge, I know that this election, even though the MPP is planning evil, it is going to be free and fair. It is going to be peaceful. When it is peaceful, the NDC is going to win. But when they attempt to bring violence, we are going to actually reply in equal measure. So yes, we are prepared. I'm frank. We are prepared to face them. Once have resolved to vote for the National Democratic Congress, so be it. We are going to protect the ballot and ensure the will of the people prevails. The announcement was that nobody is going to deploy any military officer in a polling station. But there will be some military officers around, so that when any issue erupts, then they'll be coming in. But as it stands now, I have never seen any military person here. Okay. And when they come, the people will block them because they are told not to come in until there's a violence. So I don't think anybody will come in.
Oh, Miss Sorry, 1 o'clock in best yes, yeah.
Okay, but about to a course when open to be a gymnast now, original solid to
me madam and I'm dashing tina, me dinner to send me to Abba.
There was money
no more dashing. On Benya baby, Paginentia.
I think is saying, send a bay or view of what almost say on ma or China papa.
And ampa. Nana Kufadu, I been a woman. Ukraine, mean, Mikasi, and ya, a boa. A pa, free education. Bibia, own true BBM. But the other.
You're welcome back to the show. This is still our continued coverage of the election 2024. Prior to this election, many analysts predicted that stakes were high. We've seen it on the ground. Tensions are equally high everywhere in most of the constituencies that we're covering. Ibrahim Al-Hassan is the political desk, and he's joined us in studio. I'm still here with Bernice Abeidulansa.
Hi, Ibrahim. It's good to have you. I mean, you've been doing all the hard work, haven't you, in the background, getting the team together, whipping everybody in line. But tell us, what are we picking? I mean, we're yet to receive the certified, collated constituency results, but the results are trickling in. One would have expected that they'll be coming, you know, in heavy flow, but it's trickling. I mean,
yes, of course it is, and of course the primary results are in. Polling station results. Now, usually that's where after voting is done, sorting is done, counting is done, there's that declaration, and that declaration is done by the EC officer there, and that is the presiding officer or the returning officer in that case. Now, if you are able to move to every single polling station, gather the results as they were declared, and you piece everything together, Venice, I can tell you that by now, you should know your level.
Right.
As to whether you are winning or losing.
You're packing your things from Parliament.
And trust me, they know. The NDC knows its status today at this material point in time as we speak. The NPP does know its status as we speak today. Now, and here I'm talking about presidential.
Okay.
Then when you come to the parliamentary, that one is a little bit tricky because the political parties believe that if the gap is not that wide, there are mechanisms you can deploy.
Yeah.
Recount, call for another recount. And so far, we've had about 3 attempts of ballot swapping.
Right.
And we are not making this up. Police have effected arrest in those instances where individuals with some foreign ballot boxes stuffed with tam-printed ballot papers have attempted to either add to the genuine ballot boxes that are being transported to the collation centers, or they've attempted swapping, meaning they would then take the original ballot boxes, replace them with ballot boxes that they have generated with ballot papers in there. Some arrests have been effected in that regard in Ashanti region, and of course, the collation in Ayawaso West Wogon was disrupted as a result of an attempted ballot swapping. Now, back to where we are. Venice, if you look at the provisional results, and that's an underlining word, we should always be using that word, provisional results. The provisional results are gotten from the polling stations. They've not been released by the EC as certified results. So from now until the collations are done at the collation centers in the constituencies, what you have out there will be provisional. Now, the EC has put in place about 3 layers. The first layer is where we've gotten to now, where our reporters are scattered across the country, monitoring the constituency collation centers. What happens there is that the polling station results are brought there. Those results are keyed into a system.
Okay.
Now, those results are keyed into a system.
Before you tell us about how the results are keyed into the system, Venice, you have somebody on Zoom.
Right. John Kuma is a man at Kaikui Central, is it? He has got the NDC's parliamentary candidate with him. Ayawaso Central, rather, forgive me. John, what is happening at Ayawaso Central? What are you able to report?
At the Ayawaso Central, since collation began, things have slowed up a little bit. The electoral officers are beginning to find some kind of errors, and then that is causing a little bit of agitation. However, they are trying to find even ways whereby they can find and sort out errors. But then the NDC agents are requesting that the process will be passed now. I have seen here Honorable Raul. Actually, if you don't mind, if you can get some information as to what he seems to be very confident. He seems to be very sure he has won. I would like to get to know what he has said. Honorable. All right. So at the moment, there are the crowd outside. They are chanting. They hope to come inside. But however, we are still monitoring the process, ensuring that everything, the better agent officers want to ensure that everything tallies exactly how it should be. So therefore, there is a little bit of delay as to the process. Mind you also, the other returning officers are outside the building, and that is causing some kind of frustration, understand? And also others are really meaning it as what is happening inside. And I mean the process itself is causing a bit of discomfort. If you can see the inside there isn't too much of agitation. However, outside there's chanting, singing NBC songs. I mean, all to put together. Let me just see if another all my statement of, but I mean let's get candidate what he has in mind. Senior, you are take one like I just want to take risk. Just say what's taking so long and what's going on so far. What have you seen so far to take a long time?
So that's John trying to get some reaction there from the Ayawaso Central NDC parliamentary candidate. It appears we have a challenge with his line. We'll work it out and hear what he has to say. But if you've been following us, polls have officially closed. 5 p.m. they did, until all those who were in the queue were able to exercise their right. We're now waiting for certified constituency results. There's a lot of collation happening across the country. Our men and women are on the ground. They'll furnish us with the details. We've also been to the EC strong room. We've seen the mechanisms there, the fax machines, how they are going to be projecting the results onto the screens, the various presidential candidates and their men and officials who are also there to witness everything as it happens, the observer groups. Everyone is alert. We've also heard from the security analysts who are suggesting that the results should not be withheld any longer, because the longer we do that, the more tension is created. Unfortunately, there have been incidents of violence and loss of lives. Unfortunately, we were hoping it wouldn't happen in this election, but it has happened, and we've been picking reactions from the Peace Council as well. I still have my colleagues here with me. Lily and I have been doing this since 10. IB just joined us shortly. Yeah. He's head of our political desk. He's been running us through what we've been observing on the ground, and the suggestion that you should know what is happening with your candidate or with your desire to lead us as of now, right?
Yes, exactly so. With the parliamentary candidate or the parliamentary process, every single candidate belonging to both the NPP and NDC has set up their own collation centers.
Sure.
If you are a candidate worth your salt, you should have that mechanism in place. And so some of them, as we speak, all the constituency polling station results have filtered in. They've inputted that into their system. They know exactly what their statuses are, as I mentioned. But I was taking you through the layers as laid out by the EC, so we know exactly where we are at this material point in time. So where we are now, the state we find ourselves in now, is the EC officials, together with the political party agents, with their laptops at the constituency collation centers. Now, all the results from the polling stations have been brought in. And of course, we brought you a report of the struggle some of the returning officers had to go through to assess some of the collation centers because of how people have massed up there and over a number of suspicions, right? So once that
is it that the EC underestimated the things happening in this particular election? I mean, there have been so many analyses flying across, even before the 100-day period.
Lily, that's a good question. In fact, the EC underestimated a number of things, not just this one. So, for instance, we are told by the EC that funds were made available for renting of generators. I also know the lights went out and they were struggling to even write on the pink sheets. A number of places
Potential
as well.
security threat even.
Exactly. And so what happened to the funds that were made available for the rental of generators? In fact, the EC, as we speak, doesn't have a standby vehicle for any of the polling stations. After the exercise, some of the returning officers had to return to the collation centers with the ballot boxes in taxis. Not once, not twice. In fact, at the West in one polling station, they were returning the ballot boxes and all the other electoral materials in an unregistered vehicle with a DV plate.
That's troubling.
That is troubling. How do you track such a vehicle? So the concerns there were that no, that was not going to happen.
In the event of commuting, what if something happens on the way?
That's the point. And so, Ablekuma West, to be specific, the agent then said if they were to transport the materials in somebody else's private vehicle, they would rather opt for a taxi. And that was exactly what happened. They rented a taxi, and according to them, the driver is not known to anybody. So at least they could trust that driver. And that was exactly what happened. So the EC has underestimated a number of things, not just the issue of security. At the point, you have just 2 police officers. And at Ayawaso Central, they were overwhelmed when a group of people equally attempted storming the collation center with their own ballot boxes and thumb-printed ballot papers. We saw the scaffold that ensued there, somebody giving 2 warning shots, and then eventually there was a commotion leading to tear gas being fired, right? Gaglo was there to give us that account, where we had some of these thumb-printed ballot papers lying on the ground. So, yes, the EC probably felt after the 2020 elections, it had learned all the lessons, it had dotted the I's and then crossed the T's.
It appears it was actually not ready for this election.
I agree with you. And I made this point over the weekend, and that's before this weekend. I was in the Central Region, and that was about 2 days to election. The EC was then training as electoral officers.
2 days to the polls?
2 days to the polls.
Coming too late.
Yes. And so you definitely have challenges. In fact, we are yet to even get to the challenges of the figures and the computation and even how they write in words and in numbers. Right. We are yet to even get there because that reflects on the pink sheet, right? But when we talk about what to even do, in the course of the day, an electoral officer was arrested. The crime decided to tear off Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's head when issuing the ballot papers out to potential voters. Of course, we can all say it could be deliberate, but any electoral officer who is worth his salt or who has been trained will not do this.
And this was not just one ballot paper, 15 of them.
15 of them.
Yeah.
So after the first one, what happened? Second, up to the 15th person.
We can say the first could probably be a mistake.
Exactly.
But after one, you cannot say the rest are mistakes.
These are not mistakes that we should expect. Now, at Ayawaso North, there was equally a military intervention, and this was what happened. So the lights went out. The MPP polling agent there then triggered an alarm that his life was under threat. Then the military came in. When they came in, the MP for the area, that was Jaja, Yusuf Jaja, was alerted. He then came. The military men then mentioned that we're here to ensure that nothing happens to the ballot boxes that have been sealed. Because at that point, they were just writing the results and then filling the pink sheet. The military then had to explain that they had no ulterior motive. Right. They were there to protect the ballot boxes. Eventually, they all landed at the Nima police station. And that was because the MP intervened. There were suspicions from the residents who had massed up there that the military were trying to tamper with the ballot papers. Only God knows what will have happened.
But aren't those concerns legitimate? Because we're told the military won't be involved at all in this election. We received information, right?
Yes. Very legitimate, Bernice, and that's where the conflicting information becomes a problem. First, the military will only intervene
when they are asked to.
And then second, we realize that in some polling stations, you wouldn't know whether the services of the military have even been requested and they are there. You see them in the bucket of pickups, heavily armed, and they are moving around. And you wonder whether this is with the approval of the IGP.
That military officers go to various polling centers armed. Should that be the norm?
Per the modalities we were given and per what the military themselves told us, what the chairman of the National Election Security Task Force, the IGP, Dr. George Akufu-Dampare, told us, that was not supposed to be the case. Yes, we can understand the general deployment as to go and lodge in this hotel in this constituency. That's understandable. Yesterday there were some images to that effect. That's understandable. But when it comes to leaving the hotels or your places of lodging to the polling centers, we were told that was not supposed to happen until there is a visible and evidently clear problem that has become unmanageable by the police detail. Nonetheless, that has happened. Where we are now, in fact, just before I came on air, and of course I heard you people talk about the fact that some military men were chased away because they were attempting to enter a collation center.
And the youth were chanting, "Arise, Ghana youth,"
That's where we got into. It's good the military men read the room and then left.
Decided to retreat.
Honestly, we could have been telling a different story by now. And I've scanned what's happened nationally, and I think that is the position that many people have taken. That there's very little you can do when we are large in numbers. So whatever we think you're doing that will not be beneficial to the progress of the nation, we will confront you.
And that will not reflect the will of the people.
Exactly.
I think that's the fundamental thing, that if this is what the people want, let no man using arms or technology or whatever means disrupt the will of the people. Let's allow it to be. Right.
Exactly that. And that resistance is enough a signal to anybody armed in uniform to know that tread cautiously. And like I said, emotional intelligence to the highest level on the part of the military men who had to retreat. Because we have 2020 glaring on our minds. So far, we've recorded 2 needless deaths and then 2 in critical condition. In Tolon, of course, Nyampala, as we brought to viewers in the afternoon, and then the unfortunate incident this evening in Ewutu-Senya East. We've always known that place to be a hotspot. In 2020, I covered that constituency. Gunshots were fired. People were wounded. There were initial reports that people had died, but subsequently we got to know that no, people were injured. This time around that we're supposed to know better and avoid the pitfalls of 2020. We've already recorded 1 death. And if what's happening in the constituency is anything to go by, then the security must be on high alert in foiling any aggravation of the situation in that particular constituency. Kudos to the IGP. In all the 2 instances, the arrests have been swift. And the police have equally been prompt in alerting the public about the individuals involved, and that's good.
And I know you at home have been waiting to know what the results are. At this point, if anybody is awake, it's just because they want to know what's happening, what are the figures saying, really. So these are the results that we have seen as projected in one of the constituencies, in the Tema West constituency, and so far we've received 62 out of the 285 polling stations. Number of polling stations with valid entry so far, 62. And this is what the figures are saying so far. Dr. Baumia has 7,404. John Dramani Mahama has 8,206. And Nana Kwame Bediako has 241. So these are the 3 highest polled results so far out of 285 polling stations in the Tema West constituency. These are the figures for 62 entries. I don't know, IB, what you think. That's a long way coming. We have about 223, to be specific, 223 more entries. But does it say anything? Is it too early to say there's a trend that we're seeing?
Well, it might be too early, but suffice to say that this is a blue-blooded constituency. Tema West has never been held by the NDC since its creation.
Well, are you talking parliamentary or presidential or both?
Both. Right. Both. It's not a constituency that's noted for voting skirt and blouse. In 2020, however, you speak to some NDC members and leaders and they tell you that they want that seat. But of course, that will be in their minds because what reflected on paper was different. Right? But of course, they will tell you how they believe that they want that seat. Before today, or before yesterday, because already we are in the following day. Before yesterday, and that's the election, there were many pollsters who had predicted that this constituency is turning green.
Okay.
And if the results you've given us so far is anything to go by, it's pointing in that direction.
It's still quite close, though. Just about 1,000 votes
that's the
difference.
Point. That's the point. And so just about 1,000 votes, and that's because we have 62 out of 285. But like I said, per the results you've just given us, there's somebody who's leading, and that person is in the green corner. So that's why I say that from what you've just given us, it's pointing in the direction of those who predicted that Tema West will turn green. As whether...
Is it not too early to call? Yeah.
I get that point. But the point I'm making is that per the results we have just given viewers, right? That's the direction it's pointing. The direction can change.
Right.
Because viewers are aware that there are many other polling stations outstanding, right?
Sure.
But the results you've given...
Over 200 polling stations.
Exactly. You just told viewers that John Dramani Mahama and the NDC are leading in that particular constituency. That's the point I'm making, right? But I'm telling you that historically, that seat has always been blue. And before yesterday's elections, analysts and political watchers had predicted that this time around, that seat is going to swing. Okay. Mind you, the contenders are different. Carlos Ahinkura decided to opt out. And we sat here and covered the internal elections of the NPP, and we heard the wailing from party delegates in the constituency who had said that their plans had been disrupted. They had, in a way, been disappointed by the decision by Carlos Ahinkura not to go again. But Carlos Ahinkura equally took a political decision. He nearly lost that seat in 2020. And so if you're a politician and you read the room, these are some of the decisions you will take. Yes, so no surprises there, if you ask me, as far as this collated results, actually, collated results is concerned.
Talking about surprises, though, let's look at the Lions then, right?
Yes.
We have been following what's happening at Aswase. What are we picking? What are we picking? Aswase and Hohoi, what are we picking?
Well, if there is any constituency that we can beat our chest here and say that provisionally it has remained with the NDC in the Ashanti region, it will be Asawase. And yes, Manaf has put up a good fight per the figures I have seen, provisional figures I have seen. But Muntaka is Muntaka. We engage him on this platform. And he had mentioned that he approaches every election like he's just been elected by his party to contest for the seat for the first time. And so he put in the work. And per the provisional results we are seeing, we understand that that seat will remain with the NDC. And so talking about Lions then, yes, I'm sure eventually we might have to come to Hawaii and what have you. But yes, as far as Asawase is concerned, it's remaining with the NDC.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. If you just joined us, this is your election hub, I beg your pardon, on GH1 and Star FM. And I'm here with head of our political desk, Ibrahim. And we've been talking about the figures we're seeing so far. He just spoke about the Lions Den, which is Asawase. That is what we refer to as parties that are holding seats within strongholds of the other party. So you take Asawase, for example, the NDC has that seat within the Ashanti stronghold of the NPP, and when you're John Peter Amewu of the NPP stronghold of the NDC. So you're seeing the Lions Den constituencies. Edrasetre Dumase is one of them, and New Edubiase, Setre, Afram Plains is also one of them. So, and Asawase, as you can see, Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak is the NDC's parliamentary candidate there. And these are results for last year. Last elections, I beg your pardon. Last elections, 2020, to be specific. These are not, and I'll say it again, these are not figures for 2024. These are figures for 2020. And Muntaka Mubarak polled 61,659, whilst Ali Duseidu got 31,256. At Edrasetre Dumase, Bawa Brima of the NDC had 3,056, and Salisu Bamba of the NPP had 2,509. In New Edubiase, Abdul Salam Adams of the NDC had 90,961. George Odro of the NPP had 17,913. Setre, Afram Plains, Alex Adoma Kumensa had 8,079, and Joseph Jemfi Owusu had 7,923. So once again, these are what was collated in the 2020 elections. When you come to the Volta region, which is the NDC stronghold, a Lion Den constituency there is Hohoi. John Peter Amewu had 26,952 votes, and Margaret Kweku of the NDC had 21,821. We are yet to see how it will play out this year in these Lion Den constituencies, but as you heard from head of our political desk in Asawase, the provisional results are pointing to Muntaka Mubarak retaining that seat for the NDC. Let's now go to Ododo Diodio. Kweku Timing is there for us. Kweku, we came to you earlier. There's a bit of confusion. We understand that the situation is stable now. Collation has started. What can you report? Well, Kweku will join us shortly. We understand that he's just putting 1 and 2 together. But IB, all right, Kweku is ready now. Hello, Kweku. What's happening at Ododo Diodio?
All right, thank you very much. So definitely, we are the Ododo Diodio Collation Center now. We have all the figures coming from the polling station right here put together. Right behind me are agents and electoral officers going through the figures. Well, we have some interesting figures, and it looks like the NDC is still maintaining its dominance in the Ododo Diodio constituency. I must say these figures that I'm going to present are provisional. They are not the final one. The EC is yet to declare. So let me just quickly go through what I'm getting for the parliamentary candidates, and a quick one on the first of them, which is yes, so a quick one on the first of them that I have